The project is about rural regeneration in a post-earthquake region in China, and it investigates rural degradation as an entropic process.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again.
In the children's nursery rhyme, Humpty's broken fragments are sadly left on the ground. But what could have happened to those pieces? Buildings fell inevitably. A rural region in Sichuan, China had a huge earthquake back in 2008. Tons of buildings were damaged because they were poorly built. Schools have suffered most of damage due to the corruption on school buildings. However, the government were delayed to confess their fault. Parents who suffered from the loss of children moved to other places for living. Activists, like Ai Weiwei, who was trying to fight the right for those parents, got kicked out China. The social degradation is accelerated in this region. Chinese rural population is experiencing decreasing. People move out to city as migrants for opportunities. The social structure is transforming while rural is disappearing. The elderly and the children are left at villages without care. Traditional villages have transformed by the government into a more compacted socialist village, or a commercial place in the post-earthquake reconstruction. Traditional house got transformed into apartments like those in the city, and farmers lost their ownerships to farmland. 12 years has passed away, issues still exist.
不是的，当时是政府，咱本来是在村子头上上课的，结果政府就喊咱到县城里去上课。
但是对后这个发展还是不行。为啥子说呢？我们现在这个村人，80%的都把房子卖出去。
估嘛，这个时候这个那一个个是富的，富得很。
The hukou policy creates a dichotomy between rural and city, which rural dwellers cannot enjoy the same public facilities like education and healthcare. Now it has reformed to encourage people from rural to live in the city and city dwellers to live in the rural. A broken egg cannot be reversed. Instead, broken eggs can be reused. Living in rural can be an alternative to city. I have visited a school in rural area that provide lateral education for both city dwellers and local dwellers. People live in a communal life there, and there are construction technique courses for children. Instead of letting the village hollow in and become a town, the strategy is to decentralize the educational resources and attract city dwellers to transform the community. Educational facility is the envelope, and it is a social infrastructure for all age, especially the children and the elderly. Construction workshop will be hosted for middle-aged villagers to learn earthquake construction techniques. It can also be settlements for visitors and migrants. Community will be repaired through gathering and knowledge sharing. Eventually, it is a shelter space when earthquake comes. Existing village which suffered from both environmental and social degradation in this post-earthquake region has been selected to test the repair strategy. The reason that rural area is more vulnerable to earthquake is because the typical way of dealing with earthquake requires advanced technology, and it is costly. Some of the vernacular construction in Himalayan area may be more suitable for rural China. Cascuni construction methods create both flexibility and stiffness, which allow the building to move and distribute energy during earthquake. Bata construction is similar, but with more stone and less timber, which comes to heavier weight. Daji construction is the opposite, which has more timber and less stone. Shaking table has been used to compare the normal stacking method and the vernacular method. Inspired by the reference, and the top of the building is using the Daji construction, which is lighter. The bottom of the building is using Bata construction as heavy base, hump rope used as extra structure element. Material from the damaged site will be collected and distributed to village as building materials. Rubbles can be reused and embedded the memory of the lost. Trees then will plant at the ruined site. Rubbles will be remade into desirable size and act as infill, like the stone in Cascuni construction. Oak and oak trees then will be planted afterwards and sourced as timber materials. These low-tech construction methods will also become one of the knowledge shared in the school and allow the community to participate in the construction. Adapting this construction technique allows the site to reborn after each damage. The design acts as a catalyst to regenerate existing villages. A wing form has been created for courtyard space for communal activities, and it is a space shared among villagers. Double wings have been created for in-between courtyard space. The typology will be adjusted according to the site. The smaller ground floor rooms are more accessible for children and elderly to use as a daycare room or classroom. Top floor can be accessed from each of those smaller units, and it can host communal activities like workshops and meetings. This rural communal hub helps the village to transform and repair the community through participation in construction and knowledge sharing. In the future, it will help the village to grow when there are more visitors and city migrants joining the village. Governments should be responsible for the funding to keep the village sustainable. Living in rural is not an inferior to the city, but it provides an alternative for Chinese city dwellers and for those rural dwellers who left for work but dream to come back home.
很多村落里都有了这个社区中心，帮助村子创变。一些年轻人和外来人都被吸引了过来。我以前总是出去打工，现在在家里也可以学习一些剑道技能，帮助当地居民修房子，还能有一些收入。小娃和家里的老人白天也有地方去了，还可以由村民互相照顾，这样我们就可以安心工作。地震来了就来这里躲着，地震结束后把一些破坏的材料用来重建，终于不用去城里讨生活了，可以在乡下也能过上好日子了。